Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. It's Friday night, and I thought I'd come on and do a little chit chat live tonight. I wasn't going to do a live because, as you know, I'm not brilliant in the evenings. But I thought, no, I will. But I'm going to do something a little bit different, a little bit lighter. It's been a tough sort of, we've been looking at a lot of difficult cases, or especially Madeline Soto, and child cases and things like that are always difficult to look at. And I thought, let's do something completely different for tonight. I mean, also because there's not been any, as far as I know, no new news in anything, not particularly, no breakthroughs, no real new news. So I thought, no, let's do something different. And what also made me think of it is my son. We were chatting, and he said to me, "Oh, have you seen this video?" Which this is a video that I'm going to show you later. And I said no, and we watched it together, and it set me off thinking, and you'll see why when we watch it. It set me off thinking about, and also the conversation we were having set me off thinking about things that used to be, we're always moaning about the state of the world, aren't we? We're always saying, oh, this, but it got me thinking about things that used to be acceptable, that were acceptable, and are not acceptable now. And that it's good that they're not acceptable now. So not everything's doom and gloom in the world these days. We have moved on as a society, we have moved on. Things have got better in lots of ways. We just maybe forget sometimes. And it was funny because as we were talking and he was sort of mentioning things, and I was like, yeah, I used to do that, or yeah, all my family used to do that, or we all did that, or things that I think it started off. Yeah, we were talking about the lad Riley, who's gone missing after walking home, like after he'd had too much to drink. Now, I think we've all done that, and I think people are still doing that. But there's lots of things that we used to do that we don't do anymore, thank God. And actually, when you think back, you think, oh my God, I can't believe that we did used to do those things, but they were, they were just accepted. They were just accepted. It's just what people did. It wasn't thought of as a bad thing to do. And some of the things that we used to do years ago are now actually illegal. Like I'm thinking of drinking and driving, which is what we're going to look at. That's something that everybody used to do. There's lots of things that many years ago people used to do, and now young people would think, oh my God, that's terrible. Smoking in a car with children, things like that, things that not like mega, oh, how can I explain it? They're not like sort of crime of the century, but still now people would really frown on it, wouldn't you? Even if you were with a baby and you were smoking, and even out in the open, people would really frown on it. So there were so many things, just smoking in general, isn't it? I mean, nobody smokes in restaurants anymore. You used to smoke on the back of an aeroplane, and I was smoking then, and I used to go and sit in the back of the aeroplane because I would have to have a cigarette because I'd be so scared of flying, because I've never liked flying. But I used to hate it at the back of the aeroplane. Everyone was sat there smoking. When you think about it now, even then as a smoker, that was horrible. And like in trains and things, you'd have no smoking compartments and smoking compartments, and the smoking compartments were revolting. They stank of smoke. Even as a smoker, it was horrible. You used to have to go upstairs on the bus, to smoke, didn't you? So there's lots of things that we used to do. Smoking in offices and stuff like that. Lots of things we used to do. Big things and small things that we used to do that are not acceptable anymore, and that young people would be outraged to think, they'd be amazed to think that we used to do it. I remember when I first came to Spain, they were still smoking in bars and restaurants and things, but it had been already banned in the UK. And then I came to Spain and you could smoke in McDonald's, in places like that where there were children. I remember being like really quite shocked. Also, they served beer in McDonald's, which was odd because, as far as I know, unless it's changed, they don't sell alcohol in McDonald's, do they, in the UK? So yeah, the doctor offering you a cigarette. Sorry. So I'm going to say hello to everybody first, and then I can read your comments, because I do want you to let me know what you think. If there's anything you can, I'm going to go through some things, but if you can think of anything else that we used to just take for granted and do and not even think was strange, or that now would be completely frowned upon, maybe even illegal now. Because yes, some of these things are actually you can't do according to the law now. Anyway, so let me just say hello to everybody. Hi, Mello. Mello was first. Hi, Kelly. Oh, Mello's back on the ice cream again. Still haven't got any. I forgot. I've been to the supermarket today and I forgot about ice cream. Kelly's having soy hazelnut latte. It sounds absolutely delicious, that. Hi, David. Hi, Amanda Jane. Hi, Maggie. Oh, and I've got no wine tonight. I'm drinking water tonight, believe it or not. I just felt like I needed some water. Hi, Lady Dog Lover. Hi, Simon. Hi, Michelle J. Hi, Charlie. All right. Sorry, I'm just working my way down now to everybody. Oh, breastfeeding in public. Yeah, I don't know what is there, but is there laws? I've never seen anybody recently breastfeeding in public. I can't remember the last time actually, but you're right, people. And do you know what? I've got to say, I don't actually quite like that. I know, it might be the most natural thing in the world, but I never really liked it. And also, I would never have done it in a million years, because, I think then you're going to get some twonks, like some weirdos, like getting off on it as well. So I don't mean the women themselves. I'm talking about, strange men or whatever. So yeah, breastfeeding in public. I don't think it's illegal though, is it? So Kelly, yeah, just smoking indoors is a real no. Even in your own house, a lot of people don't smoke indoors. If they smoke, even in their own house, they don't smoke indoors, do they? And that, yeah, it's horrible. The nicotine turns the walls brown. Yeah, and my parents smoked quite a lot actually, when I think about it. And another thing. So they used to send me and my friends to the shops to buy their cigarettes. When we were one of my friends, we're still in contact on Facebook. We knew each other since we were about 11 from high school. And yeah, she'd get off the bus to come and get me to go to school. We'd walk to school together, and she'd come and call for me. And then my mum would send us to the shops to get a 20 Carlton Long. Could you imagine that? Now you'd be arrested, wouldn't you, if you sent children to buy? Well, you can't buy cigarettes for your children now. Sorry, you can't buy cigarettes for your parents because you've got to be a certain age. But I think you did then. But we used to have a note. She wrote a note saying they were for her, if what I can remember. We used to take this note to the local shops, and of course, everybody knew each other then. We lived in like a community type thing, so we'd go and they'd know the cigarettes were for Marjorie, but my friend often mentions it. She says, "Oh, do you remember when your mum used to send us to the shop for 20 Carlton Long?" And the other thing as well that I remember, I haven't even started on the list that I've got yet, is babysitting for my sister's kids. I was about 8 and I was babysitting. God, you'd be hauled down, social services now if you did that. Anyway, yep, smoking in the office, Michelle. Yeah, everybody was smoking then, weren't they? The doctor offering you a cigarette. Yeah. Oh dear me. Well, of course, smoking. My mum always a story that my mum always used to tell was that for her 14th birthday or something, her mum bought her a handbag and there was a packet of cigarettes inside it because it was just everybody smoked. When my mum was young, especially. So that was sort of just after the war, wasn't it? And that everybody smoked. Just it was very rare. It was rarer not to smoke than smoke. And like you say, they were advertised as stress relievers, Kelly, and they weren't thought of as bad for your health or anything. If anything, they were good for your health, and they were supposed to be cool, weren't they? Everyone smoked on the films, didn't they? All the actors and actresses were smokers, etc., and it was cool to smoke. People just smoked everywhere. Yeah. Yeah, Maggie, I don't think McDonald's in the UK has ever served beer. So when I came here to Spain and they were serving beer in McDonald's, they serve beer everywhere in Spain. Beer's like, like Coca-Cola or something. It's just accepted as something that people do is drink beer. But of course, they don't get drunk. That's the thing you have to remember. They don't go in and hammer down like a load of beers in McDonald's. They'll go and they'll have one beer, two beers maximum. And, so it's not like a drinking culture. It's funny, they drink a lot. I've said it before. Spanish people drink a lot, but they don't tend to get drunk. It's quite odd. So it's Saturday morning in New Zealand. Yeah, Charlie, it's illegal now, but it never used to be, did it? Never used to be. Charlie, it's fish and chip Friday for you. You've had fish and chips. Nudist beach. Hi, blank faces. You've had fish cake. A nudist beach. Well, yeah, there are nudist beaches in my area as well, but no, I never go. I mean, God, there's no way I'd want to go to a nudist beach. So that's something they haven't made illegal yet. The nudist beaches in Spain, anyway. Blank faces. Hi, Simon. Yeah, Mellow babysitting. Do you know what? I can remember pushing my niece's pram, and not only babysit. She'd been staying at our house, at my mum and dad's house, so we must have had her for the night. She was a baby because I was pushing her in one of them great big prams, and I had to take her back to my sister's, which was miles away. I had to push this pram back to my sister's house. It was about an hour's walk. I was 8 when my niece was born. Well, 7 when she was born. I was 8 when I was babysitting her. When I think about it now, it's terrible. And I used to babysit. Sometimes I'd babysit for 3 kids when I was about 10. It's just mad, really, when you think about it. Hi, Rachel. Kelly's got a nudist beach called Sunnyside Beach. Oh, dear, 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 dear. Oh, Kelly, yeah, something for the weekend. Yeah. Well, that's it, Michelle. Nobody can afford to smoke these days. Even in Spain, it's got more expensive now. I mean, I used to smoke. I don't smoke now. And also, they've stopped the cigarettes that I used to quite like smoking were menthol cigarettes. And I never smoked that many, to be honest. But I quite like menthol, but they stopped making menthol cigarettes. But yeah, I know that in the UK they're so expensive. Isn't it about £10 a packet or something now? Hi, Monica. $46 for 20 cigarettes. Gosh. Yeah. Well, they're definitely, they're definitely trying to stop people smoking now. It's funny how it's gone completely the other way. But they used to encourage you to smoke, really, and all the advertising and everything. Yeah, it's €5 for a packet of cigarettes, packet of 20 in Spain. So we've mentioned a couple of things there, haven't we? Well, we're going to look at 16 things that used to be acceptable and are not acceptable then. And then we're going to look at, because I think something that was quite a dramatic change, wasn't it? When drinking and driving used to be common, accepted, not thought anything of, didn't it? And then, of course, I suppose it's, how can I say it? It probably got, as the increase in cars on the road and accidents, etc., that's when attention sort of passed to it. So I can remember when I was young, there weren't that many people had a car. It was a total novelty for, not where I lived. I'm sure rich people had cars and that. But, I lived on a council estate. We didn't have any money and we never had a car. My family never had a car. And you never saw many cars, So when you played on the streets, not only did it feel safer, because, of course, we all used to play out all the time, feel safer for other reasons, but it was safer in the sense of you didn't feel like you were going to get run over because you hardly saw a car, to be honest. But, of course, now, so everyone's got a car, or most people have got a car. There's cars everywhere. And then, of course, it would have led to more accidents. And so these laws came in because people were drinking and driving. And when I first came to Spain, people were still drinking and driving. And I bet there's not, if any of you that are out there of a certain age, like me, I bet there's not many of you that have never done it, because it just was, years ago. So this is what I mean. If you sort of said that to a young person, they'd be like outraged, but it's just something that people did. There's a lot of things that people did. Anyway, let's look at these 16 things, and then we'll see. So, yeah, when I was sort of having this discussion with my son this morning, this afternoon, he was like, oh my God, I can't believe he did that, or I can't believe people did that. But they did. So let's see. So 16 things that used to be totally acceptable and now are definitely not. So there you go. Smoking in a car with a child. Smoking indoors. So back in the day, you could light up a cigarette pretty much anywhere. Restaurants to planes. It's incredible to think you could smoke on a plane, really, isn't it? A night out at a bar was guaranteed to make your pillow smell like smoke, even if you weren't a smoker. Yeah, so even those poor smokers, non-smokers, would come home stinking of smoke. And now you can't even smoke on patios in a lot of places. And of course, people who worked in bars have sort of sued, haven't they, if they've contracted cancer, lung cancer or whatever, from inhaling smoke while they've been working. Who was the guy who used to play the trumpet and he got lung cancer, and he said it was from playing in smoky joints, oh God, what was his name? Somebody will remember it in chat. Roy somebody. And he died of lung cancer, which he blamed on the fact that he used to play in, gigs and things, like play the trumpet in bars, etc. And possibly true, And I know when they brought in no smoking in pubs and things, I didn't necessarily agree with it, because I always think you could have, why can't you have smoking pubs and non-smoking pubs? I don't believe in the no smoking areas, because if you're in a no smoking area, you'd be sat in a restaurant and you'd have a smoking area and a non-smoking area, but you could still smell the smoke in the non-smoking area. And even when I was smoking, I didn't like smoking in restaurants because it's not nice around food, is it, and stuff. So yeah, and I do think there's something about it's taken a little bit of the atmosphere away from bars and well, here we call them bars, not pubs, but there was, because people have to go outside. I mean, it was good. It certainly helped me to stop smoking, because I don't want to stand outside on a freezing cold street and smoke. I don't even want to smoke outside. I don't like being outside. I like being inside. I like the atmosphere inside. So it stopped me smoking, or made me cut down in smoking, because in the UK it's so cold. I didn't want to go and stand at a doorway and have a cigarette. To me, part of the nice thing of smoking was sort of sitting in a bar with your drink, chatting, that's all that thing. So if you have to actually get up and go outside, it just breaks the atmosphere. So I never really liked doing that anyway. So I must say that law, it did work, well, for me, because it helped stop me smoking, because I only wanted to smoke when I was comfortable. I didn't want to be smoking on a doorstep. So yeah, so that's one thing. All this about smoking indoors, that's one thing that people commonly used to do, and don't do anymore, isn't it? Now, this was a sad thing, wasn't it? Seeing the cockpit of a plane. Now, I remember my mum went in the cockpit of a plane. This was something you could do. It was part of people's holiday, wasn't it? Once the plane was taken off and it was on its automatic pilot and what have you, kids could go in, or don't know about fiddling with the bloody buttons like these two are. I don't think I'd be happy about that. But you could go in and the pilot would show you the cockpit. And you could sit in the cockpit of the plane, which of course you can't do now, because the terrorists have ruined that, haven't they? Because I think that was probably the 9/11 that stopped that, because now you can't even get it. Nobody's allowed in the cockpit of the plane, is there? Even the stewardesses, it's difficult for them to get in. The cockpits are locked. So you cannot imagine now that this could have happened once, that children could have gone in, or anyone could have gone in. And, that's innocent times, isn't it? It's a shame, actually. I mean, I would never have gone in the cockpit because I hate flying. I wouldn't have liked to have gone in the cockpit at all. But, for people who would, my mum went in, I know she loved it, going in and having a look, and she would do anything like that, but not me. I definitely wouldn't have liked to be in that cockpit. I'm too busy just sat there with a drink trying to pretend I'm on a bus. I'm not really on a plane. But yeah, that's something that we all used to do. Yeah, they did. Fuck that up for the kids, David, definitely. Hi, Wesley. Hi, Hannah. Hi, I think Matthew popped in there. Hi, Matthew. So, yeah. Sorry. So I'm just reading the chat. I shouldn't do that because distracts me. So, yeah, there's a second thing. So smoking indoors, seeing the cockpit of a plane, we used to be acceptable, but we can't see it now. Now, calling someone, this is interesting. I mean, this obviously it's not illegal, but it is an increasingly rare occurrence to hear your phone ring. And not so much your mobile, but God, when the landline rings, it's like, oh, who's that? Who's that ringing? It's like, who's that ringing on the landline? And to be honest, even on the mobile, we normally use WhatsApp these days. I certainly do. I very rarely actually ring anyone, because I always feel that you don't know if you're interrupting them, or they might be working, or they might be busy, or whatever. Whereas if you send a WhatsApp message, I might WhatsApp them and say, oh, is it okay if I call you? Or, are you free at the moment? Or something like that. But yeah, it's rare, isn't it, to make phone calls, and certainly on a landline. A lot of people, I mean, in fact, I went to try and give up my landline the other day because I forgot I never use it. But it turns out it's in the package that I pay anyway, so I wouldn't have been paying any less if I gave it up. And I do get free calls to the UK. But so I said, oh no, then I'll keep it if I'm paying for it. If it's not going to make, it's not going to be cheaper, then I might as well keep it. But yeah, calling someone, especially after a first date, calling someone can be a little weird. Well, I can't remember what that's like, but yeah, you feel sort of a bit awkward calling people, especially people you don't know very well. Obviously, you wouldn't feel bad calling, your family or whatever, or your partner, but calling people you don't know that well, you tend to message more, don't you? Whereas years ago, oh my God, I was on the phone constantly with my friends and everything. We're just always talking, and God, you'd get on the phone and then that'd be it for about 2 hours. I still do that sometimes with my family. You get on the phone to my sister or my sister-in-law or one of my nieces or anyone really, and that could be easily 2 hours that I'm on the phone. So it's a good job that I've got free calls to the UK. So something else that used to be acceptable that maybe is not acceptable now, getting married before 18. So back in the day, you were considered a full functioning mature adult by the age of 18. So naturally, that meant you were ready to get married and have kids shortly after. But these days, I think it is much rarer. Not many 18-year-olds. A lot of 18-year-olds still live at home. In fact, a lot of 30-year-olds still live at home. It's all changed now, isn't it? When I was young, it was unusual for people to still live at home, after sort of 18. But here in Spain, it's always been common for people to live at home until they get married. So they could be living at home till they're 40, really. It's not in Spain, it's not a thing, it's not a thing where people are encouraged to be independent and move out. It's not uncommon for people. Normally people are at home, stay with their parents until they actually get married. And people don't get married young in Spain. They get married later in life, tend to anyway. And they may be in a relationship for many, many years before they get married. And they would live at home. They would each live at home. It's much more unusual for them to live together. And I think it's virtually unheard of, or it's not very often that you would live with your friend, like a flatmate type thing, which I think, in my day, that was common. If you'd move out of your home, your parents' house, and if you couldn't afford to live on your own, you'd live with one of your friends, get a flatmate, even buy a house together. People were buying properties with friends, not with partners. So I think that has changed now. I think it's rarer for people to get married so young. So people are not settling down so young. So apparently it's saying here that 30 is the new 20. Yeah, I think that's probably true, to be honest. By 30, maybe you'd expect them to have moved out, but before that, not really. Anyway, and and this is a big thing, isn't it? Spanking. I mean, God, we were always, don't get me wrong, we weren't sort of, it wasn't, how can I explain, it wasn't what you'd call child abuse, but we were smacked. We were spanked, they're calling it here. This might be in America. Oh, it's a Canadian. This is a Canadian article. We would get smacked. Smacking was common, and not only by your family, but you get smacked at school. You get smacked on the back of your legs. You'd get a ruler on your hand. The cane even. I mean, I'm not advocating it. I'm not saying it's a good thing. It was terrible, really, when you think about it. I remember being in a maths class once, and one of the lads was cheeky to the maths teacher, and the maths teacher hit him over the head with his pencil case. Just picked his pencil case up and whacked him over the head with it. And it had a metal... is it a protractor? I don't know if you remember what a protractor is, something that we used to use in maths. And it had this protractor in it, so it really hurt this lad. It really whacked him on the head with this pencil case. I'll never forget it. I even remember the lad's name. It was Arthur, because it was really shocking. But nothing ever happened. I don't think he even went to, complained about it. And now, the teacher's only got to look at a child the wrong way, and the child's, the parents are down the school. So that is a definite no-no, isn't it? Smacking, spanking. And I think, even people smacking their own kids and that, it's completely frowned upon these days. So you'd never think of doing so to your own child now, and certainly not in a public setting. And if you did, if you did it in a public setting, somebody would be there to take a video of you doing it that'd go viral, and you'd probably end up getting your child took off you or whatever. But years ago, it was common. It was common. It was accepted. It's oh God. Yeah, and we do always say, oh well, we were smacked, or we were got the right. I think I can remember having the ruler. I wasn't naughty at school, so I wouldn't have. I can't remember why I did get the ruler. So the ruler, you'd have to hold your hand out, and they would smack you on the hand with the ruler. I think I have a fee. I think I had that, but I can't really remember if I did or not, or I certainly can't remember what I did. But there was much worse than that. And we had one teacher called Miss Thorpe. She was always whacking the girls on the back of the legs. That's what she'd do. She'd get the ruler, whack you on the shin if you were naughty or misbehaved or whatever. I mean, it's terrible now, really, when you think about it. I mean, you wouldn't like that, would you, with your, if you were sending your child off to school and they came home and said that the teacher had whacked him on the back of the leg with a ruler, you would be pretty incensed. But, in those times, if I would have gone home and said to my mum and dad, oh, the teacher hit me on the back of the leg with a ruler, they would have just said, well, what did you do? That would have been what I would have got. Well, what did you do to deserve that? It was a whole different. So this again is something that young people probably wouldn't be able to get their head around. It was a whole different way of thinking. Literally, if I would have come home and said to my mum and dad that had happened, the first question would have been, well, what did you do to deserve that? They wouldn't have been up to school the next day complaining about it. So I would never have even bothered telling them, to be honest. It's just one of those things. Hi, Stone. Yeah, and I think it's like there's mixed feelings about it, isn't it? Because a lot of older people, will say things like, oh, well, it never did me any harm and stuff like that. But then there's another, it is quite an icky thought to think of somebody smacking your child, especially, of actually somebody else doing it. But anyway, there you go. Okay, what's the next thing? So spanking kids. Oh, the next thing, fat jokes. So from Fat Albert to Chris Farley, there was a time when the fat guy was the brunt of countless jokes. Now with fat shaming, the apparent buzz term of the month, we need to be more careful than ever not to stigmatise people who are overweight. Is that true? I think that probably is true. I mean, God, when I was at school, it was, well, you got stigmatized for anything, and certainly if you're overweight, which I was, you did get stigmatized. You did get bullied. Everybody got bullied for something. There'd always be something. But is that true now? I don't know. Maybe in public, people can't be stigmatized, but I don't know about that. I think people still do that. But I don't know. I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. Texting and driving. There was a time when everyone would text and drive. Yeah, I think that's definitely true. When we first started using mobile phones, we would definitely text and drive. I mean, I literally just leave my phone to one side now. When I'm driving, I don't even look at it. I don't do anything with it. And if I need to text anyone or phone, I stop the car, because, there's been so many people have had accidents doing that. So again, before the accidents started occurring, and coupled with a growing list of texting and driving statistics that basically now make it seem as stupid as drinking and driving. So yeah, texting and driving probably is looked on as much now as bad as drinking and driving, in a way, because thing is, when you do those kind of things, you're not only putting your own life at risk, of course, you're putting everybody else's life at risk, aren't you? Right, walking with your face in your phone. I think you might get some stick for that, but I think people do that all the time. So believe it or not, there was once a time when cell phones were actually a new concept, and the etiquette for how and when to use them had to be established. Everybody walks like this. Everybody. I don't agree with him there that is something that people don't do anymore. Everybody does it. If you sit in a shopping centre, when I was in the shopping centre last time, I just noticed it, and I just thought, oh my God, nobody was looking up. Even people who are with other people will be, pushing the pram, their children's pram, and they're on their phone, or whatever they're doing, they're just looking at their phone all the time. I think people do still do that, definitely. I wouldn't say that's something that people used to do and don't do anymore. I'd say, if anything, they do it more now. Anyway, let me know what you think, obviously. Saying Indian summer. Now, I did not know this. So is it no longer politically correct to use the term Indian summer? Because, of course, Indian summer means nice weather in the autumn, doesn't it? When you get a bit of a summer, sometimes in the UK especially, you might not get summer in the summer. And then when it comes to the autumn, maybe you'll get a couple of weeks that are really nice. And we always called it an Indian summer. I didn't know that was something that wasn't politically correct to say anymore. I don't see why that would be politically incorrect, but I'm probably quite often politically incorrect unconsciously, because sometimes I do forget what I'm supposed to say and what I'm not supposed to say. But I don't see it with Indian summer, to be honest. I don't see how that is insulting, because it's not talking about Indian people, is it? It's just talking about the climate, like being warm. But anyway, let me know what you think. Maybe you think differently. So another thing that they're saying on here is not acceptable anymore, that people don't do it as much now as they used to, is oversharing on social media. So we should all have the hang of social media by now. I think that maybe that's true. I think we did used to share a lot more. Well, I'm thinking of me, maybe. When Facebook first came out and everybody was using it, it was a novelty. I don't hardly go on Facebook now, to be honest. I don't actually like it, but yeah, maybe we were sharing much more things. I share things on YouTube now, so I don't need to share them on Facebook. I can share them on YouTube instead. And I used to share a fair amount on Instagram, but I very rarely use Instagram now, or Twitter. Occasionally. Obviously doing the YouTube channel, I suppose, I have enough. So that's my social media fix. When I'm not doing YouTube, I certainly don't want to be on social media. So when Facebook was still new, many of us would have an entire album for every single occurrence in our lives. Yeah, we do the meals, don't we? It's like you take a picture of your meal and say, this is what I'm having for dinner. But anyway, most of us have come to understand that a single picture or two to capture the moment will suffice. Nobody needs to see an album of 100 shots of your day in the park. Some people still do that, don't they? It's like the equivalent, isn't it, when people used to show you their holiday slides, their holiday photos. And you sit there and you think, oh my God, why are you showing me all these photos? Some people will take about 100 photos. Don't get me wrong, I like to see one or two, oh, this is where we went. Oh, lovely, but you don't want to sit there and wade your way through 100 photos, do you? It is boring, somebody else's holiday, or this is the holiday you could have had, why would you want to see the holiday that somebody else went on? Just a couple of pictures, lovely, nice to see, ask them how it was and would they recommend it, etc. But, you don't need to see 100 photos. Oh, and do you remember this? Poking someone on Facebook. I remember that. Poking someone on Facebook. I didn't know you could. I don't think you can poke people on Facebook anymore, can you? I don't know. But it was only acceptable for a second when Facebook was in its infancy. It stopped being cool pretty quickly. If you poke someone on Facebook now, you're coming across as creepy as anything. Yeah, I think anyone, if it's somebody I don't know who, messages me or tags me or whatever, I always ignore it. I've watched too many crime videos to see how these twonks sometimes find their victims. It's like quite often they find them on Facebook or social media. That's what being interested in true crime does to you. It makes you suspicious of everything. And tagging people in irrelevant photos. Yeah, I never tag anybody in a photo, to be honest. So, in fact, I think I've removed the tagging ability on my Facebook because, sometimes random people would tag you in things. So you can disable that. You can disable the tagging, or put on. I did it ages ago. You put on a thing where that you have to approve a tag. So someone can't tag you. Well, they can tag you, but it doesn't go public until you approve it. So I think I've done that, and then I forget to look if anyone's tagged me. But to be honest, for the amount of time that I go on Facebook now, it's hardly worth it because I just don't go on. Okay, watching videos or playing games at full volume in a room full of people. Well, you wouldn't watch a video when you're in a room full of people, surely, would you? I suppose, do you remember Super Mario? We used to play Super Mario a lot. I suppose that, what was that, on a Game Boy or whatever? So maybe that, or like you do it on the bus or whatever, or if you were just bored, like waiting something, you'd have a little game of Super Mario or whatever. I quite like Spider Solitaire as well now, but I wouldn't play. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's any other games really that I've ever played on my phone. I do quite like the PlayStation. I do like. God, I can't remember the last time I ever played on Xbox or PlayStation or whatever, but. I did used to quite like it, but it's like everything else. You just get bored with it, don't you? You do it a lot and then you get bored with it. You don't want to keep on doing it. So another thing, being technologically illiterate. Yeah, I do think it's true. Nobody, there's rare people, very rare that people wouldn't have a smartphone these days or a computer or something, and people, even older people, are I think COVID helped that, because people had to get better with technology, didn't they, because they couldn't see their families, etc., in person, so they got better, like with Zoom and Skype and FaceTime, etc. So I do think that's true. I think it's so rare now for anybody of any age not to have some sort of cell phone or computer or whatever. I think that it's very unlikely, isn't it, for people not to. Now, this is interesting. I think this is true, and I can't decide if it's a good thing or not. I mean, it is obviously a good thing if it's done in a threatening way, but number 15, what they've got here is catcalling. Sexual harassment issues are front and centre. So, this whole thing, you walk past the workmen and the wolf whistle, which of course they don't do anymore because they're not allowed to do anymore. And you know, it's obviously horrible. If there's a way. How can I explain it? There's, you know, that as a woman, you know the difference between somebody being offensive doing it, or just like, you know, oh, because here in Spain, what they do a lot is they go, "Hola, guapa," you know, it's just like, oh, guapa just means attractive, you know, so they're just, "Hola, guapa," it's like doesn't really mean anything, or it's not offensive, or generally when people say that, it's quite nice actually. But then sometimes somebody could say something. I think, you know, if there's like an underlying thing about it, but I can't make my mind up about that. I suppose it's not nice to be catcalled, to have somebody whistling at you, make you feel uncomfortable. And it comes down to that thing about going jogging, isn't it? About women can't go running and stuff like that, and they get harassed by men, etc. So yeah, it's something that really most men now, I think, would not do, because they know that it's that women don't like it and it's not acceptable. So things have got better, because at least this conversation is being had as well. You know, there was a time with sexual harassment, it was just like, well, just put up with it. You know, you were, how many times, you know, women of my age, definitely, how many times they will have been sexually harassed at work and just not wanting to make a fuss, you know, because they would have felt that they would have ended up looking stupid, you know, or whatever. You just had to sort of put up and shut up, really. So that is a good thing that has changed. And then I think this is the last one that they say on here about recording concerts with your iPad. So apparently people used to do that. You know, it always seemed like a really pointless thing to me to record a concert, because, you know, you're there at the concert for a start, and then if you want to watch the concert, it'll probably turn up on YouTube or whatever. That's probably why this now is not so popular, actually recording it yourself, as it used to be, because you can probably, you know, watch the concert again on YouTube or whatever. So anyway, that's the things that they say that used to be acceptable. I mean, recording it on your iPad. Is that what people did? I haven't been to a concert for years, so I wouldn't have even think of recording it on my iPad. But anyway, right, I'm going to come back to the chat bit because there's something else I want to show you. Oh, hi, Jim. Yeah. Hi, Ocean. Hi, Chumba. Oh, Maggie, your dad was still sending emails at 92. Oh, good. Good for him. Good for him. See, I remember when I was at university, computers hadn't really, not laptops and that. I did all my essays on a word processor. So anyone of a certain age might remember a word processor. I thought it was really, what's the word? You know, really technologically advanced, doing my essays on a word processor. Oh dear. Yeah, that's what they were saying there, Maggie, that when you're recording it on your phone, you're blocking someone's view, aren't you? You know, if you're holding your phone up and recording it, you are blocking someone's view. But anyway. Okay, so now what I want to show you is, it just made me laugh, this, because this is what started this conversation off with my son. So he said to me, oh, have you seen that video about when they were interviewing people in California? In America, when they were bringing in the laws against drinking and driving, and it was in the 80s. So, which is really quite late, isn't it? So I had a little investigation, and drinking and driving was outlawed in Australia in 1962. In the UK, it was 1967 when the laws came in. And in America, it was in the 80s. It just seems really late, doesn't it? So, you know, anyway, so there's this video that's sort of gone... this video that's sort of gone viral, which was people being interviewed in California and talking about, you know, drinking and driving. It's hilarious. Oh, Wesley. Hi, Wesley. I know, they were terrible. They were insulting the teachers in my day as well. I remember they used to insult the pupils and that, you know, actually call them names and things. Oh, well, we're going to talk about seatbelts as well, Michelle. Okay. So let's have a look at this video, which is quite funny. It's not funny really, but it is, if you see what I mean. Right, put that down. Let me put some windows down. So this video, we're going to look at how, it's only a short video, how Californians reacted to new drunk driving laws in the 80s.
Have you seen this clip on social media recently?
So apparently this video has turned up on social media, and, you know, as I say, it was my son who'd seen it on YouTube, and he mentioned it to me. He couldn't get over it. He just could not get over it. He can't get over the fact that anyone ever could drink and drive. To him, it's just like a totally alien thing that anybody would do. I do think a lot of young people are a lot more responsible than older people, aren't they? You know, my generation, which I think I'm Generation X. I'm after the boomers, just after the boomers, Generation X. You know, these millennials now think that we're just totally irresponsible, don't they, with everything. We've, you know, ruined the planet. We've done this, we've done that, we've done everything wrong. You know, and we should be ashamed of ourselves. I think that's a general opinion of young people about my generation. But anyway, watching this, you can see why they might think that.
Recently, it's a TV news report from the 1980s showing how people in California at the time reacted to new laws against drunk driving.
Still, any attempt to restrict drinking and driving here is viewed by some as downright undemocratic.
Yeah, you know, it's undemocratic. So the Americans, you know, they had, or these people that they're talking to, it was, you know, curtailing their freedoms. You know, they're free to drink and drive. You shouldn't be curtailing their freedoms. That's undemocratic.
Getting communist when a fella can't put in a hard day's work, put in 11, 12 hours a day, and then get in your truck and at least drink 1 or 2 beers.
It just really so funny when you. So yeah, you know, a man does a 10, 12-hour day, and he can't get into his truck and drink at least a couple of beers. I mean, why does he have to drink them in his truck? You know, so he's obviously then on his way home, he's chugging back a couple of beers on his way home. But this woman, this is the worst one. Now, notice that she's got a baby in the front seat next to her.
Making it laws where you can't drink when you want to. You have to wear a seatbelt when you're driving. And pretty soon we're going to be a communist country.
The clip was posted by popular TikTok account Cali Nostalgia, and so far it has more than 3 million. Have you seen this clip on social media recently? It's a TV news report from the 1980s showing how people in California at the time reacted to new laws against drunk driving.
Still, any attempt to restrict drinking and driving here is viewed by some as downright undemocratic.
It's kind of getting communist when a fella can't put in a hard day's work, put in 11, 12 hours a day. And
it's getting communist. It's kind of getting communist when a guy can't put in a 10, 12-hour day and then get in his truck and have a couple of beers. He's actually saying it's kind of getting communist. And then so this must have been at the time, when they were like obsessed with communism at one point, weren't they, in America? The threat of communism and its threat to freedom. So he's saying that he's brought up the communism thing, but this girl is the worst.
And then get in your truck and at least drink 1 or 2 beers.
They're making it laws where you can't drink when you want to. You have to wear a seatbelt when you're driving. And pretty soon we're going to be a communist country.
Yeah, going to be a communist country. How you can't drink when you want to. She's sat there. She's got a baby in the front seat next to her baby, and she's saying you can't drink when you want to. You have to wear a seatbelt. It's pretty soon to be a communist country. Hilarious.
Clip was posted by popular TikTok account Cali Nostalgia, and so far it has more than 3 million views. So what's actually going on here? California has had DUI laws on its books since at least 1911, but in the decades following, drunk driving laws weren't enforced at the level we see today. By the early 80s, intoxicated driving had become something of an epidemic, with more than 250,000 drunk driving deaths occurring between 1973 and 1983. By one 1985 estimate, the issue was responsible for approximately $21 billion in property damage, which is roughly $60 billion by 2023 standards. Drunk driving was apparently so bad at this time that entire organizations were created solely to fight, such as Mothers Against Drunk Driving, aka MAD, which was formed in 1980. Those groups placed enormous pressure on lawmakers to crack down on drunk driving, and it worked. The people in this viral video are reacting to a new California law that lowered the legal blood alcohol limit from 0.15 to 0.10. Now, the federal limit is even lower, 0.08. Despite the anger from these Californians, there's no denying that these types of motor safety laws work. In 1980, there were roughly 51,000 deaths involving fatal car crashes in the US. In 2020, that number was reduced to approximately 38,000, even though the United States population actually grew by 100 million in those 40 years. Perhaps there's a lesson here for the people who are easily upset by the safety considerations of today.
As you've probably read by now, the Consumer Product Safety Commission.
Well, this is Tucker Carlson. I'm sure a lot of you know who he is, but he's like totally against any, a lot of Americans, it's like, against their constitution, isn't it?
Commission has suggested the government will soon ban gas stoves. But apparently, and nobody knew this until like a week ago, these stoves are a hidden hazard that we must eliminate.
They want your gas stove, and we're not going to let that happen.
I can tell you one thing, they're not taking my gas stove out. And my wife and I would both be upset.
Have you seen this clip on social media?
Well, personally, I wouldn't have a gas stove because I do think they're dangerous, but I don't know what that was about. But it reminds me a bit of this. I mean, because I do remember when these stricter laws came in, and it suddenly, there must have been some sort of laws about drinking and driving, like they're saying there, but they kept lowering the amount that you can drink safely and drive, didn't they? And then, of course, the seatbelt law came in. We're going to have a look at that in a minute. All these things, and I do remember, being a bit outraged certainly about the seatbelts. I hate wearing a seatbelt. I still hate wearing a seatbelt. And when I was sort of trying to explain that to my son, he just looks at me like I've just dropped off Mars or something, because of course he's never known a time when you didn't have to wear a seatbelt. But I just remember, not liking it when it first came in. But I know that it does save lives. And actually, the thing that convinced me in the end to wear a seatbelt, because loads of times I wouldn't wear one, was hearing a recovery, a person talking who does recovery, like of car accidents and stuff like that, saying that he'd never taken a dead person out of a seatbelt. And it just resonated with me, seatbelts do save lives. Of course they do save lives. I know that they do. But it was just when it first came in, it was just like, I don't want to wear a seatbelt. No, not making me wear a seatbelt, sort of thing. It seems silly now, but it didn't at the time. I mean, I was only about 20, so, when you're 20, you think you know everything, don't you? But in Spain now, the law is, for as far as drinking and driving is concerned, is zero tolerance. And I actually prefer that, because I think you can get confused with, you know, if they say, oh, you can have like a certain amount of alcohol, because, yeah, how do you know? Like, so I know what I'm like. Like, if you have a beer and you've not eaten anything, it goes straight to your head. I've done that. I've had one beer and felt like a bit giddy. Whereas when you're eating, if you're you know, drinking with a meal, I think you can drink quite a lot, because, you know, probably because you're eating at the same time. But you wouldn't know if you were over the limit or not. So it's probably better, because so now I just think if I'm driving, I just don't drink anything. It's just, I don't see the point really of just having one drink either. But so maybe at a push I might have half a beer or something, just if I'm thirsty. But if I'm driving, that's it. It's just, I wouldn't have anything to drink now. But I have done it like years ago, as I say, here in Spain especially. Everybody did, but there were hardly any cars around then. So, you know, when I first came to Spain, there was nobody. You know, it was so quiet around, you know, so quiet around where I lived and that. But it's not now. So, you know, that changes everything, doesn't it? I wouldn't even dream of doing it now. And when I think about it, it does seem like crazy that we, not only me, we all used to do it. Hi, Neil. Yeah, so we're going to have a look at the advert for the Clunk Click. Remember Jimmy Savile telling us to be safe? Gosh, I mean, it's, well, apparently it's been taken off. What was I reading about it? It's been taken off the sort of the history website, you know. It's been taken away, the Jimmy Savile. Oh, hang on. Let me just get some windows down again. But of course, it's still on YouTube. No, I did have it. Where has it gone? Oh, I've lost it. No, I must have put it down. God, because of course, you know, in those times, Jimmy Savile, he was like, you know, he was on everything, wasn't he? He was Jim will fix it. He was, you know, he was like, these were the times when he was popular, could do no wrong, and all the time, all the things that he was doing. It's terrible, isn't it, really? To think that he got away with all that. Anyway, here, oh God, he's horrible, isn't he? Why did people not realise what he was like, or did they realise what he was like? I mean, he had loads of money, and why has he got his hair like that? What's that about his hair? You think at least he could have had his hair cut properly. He looks like he's cut his own fringe. That's what my fringe looks like when I try and cut it myself, and it's all long on one side. You know, when I always have a go at cutting my own fringe, like because if I'm at a point like I am now where I haven't decided what I'm going to do with my hair, so I'm just growing it. So when my fringe sort of comes down over my eyes, I just cut it myself in the head. That's what he looks like he's done. For God's sake, you think he could have at least have got a hairdresser? I don't remember he spoke so posh as that, or is he just putting a posh voice on? Oh God, that looks like Princess Kate. Oh, there she is. That's where she is all this time. Sorry. It's a joke. It's a joke. I've forgotten what I was saying. Oh, yeah, let's just listen to his voice. He seems to be putting on like quite a posh voice. Yeah, now I remember that. It was always this. I remember the adverts and this that you could. It would happen. You'd be doing 30 miles an hour, and it'd be nearby where you lived. Clunk click every trip, even short trips, want it, and stuff like that. So he said 400 of you will be injured before tomorrow. It's not, I suppose he's talking to the whole of Britain there, but of course Britain wasn't as heavily populated then as it is now. But yeah, she does look a bit like Princess Kate, doesn't she? There you go. She's fine. Oh my God, it's going to happen to a lot of you ladies. You'll be shopping, collecting the kids, or going to the laundrette. Oh my God, it's awful, isn't it? Really awful. Just watch that again. Ooh. So the face you start out with in the morning will not be the same face that you end up with in the evening. After you've been to the laundrette, picked up the kids, all those things, those things that women do. Horrible, man. Ew. Let's just watch it one more time. Ooh, look at his horrible face. Oh, I never shared it, did I? Oh, God, I haven't done that for ages. Let's do it again. Just realised I didn't share it. I bet you're all shouting at me, aren't you?
It's very likely that 400 of you will be injured in your cars tomorrow. You'll be within 6 miles of home and doing less than 30.
And it's going to happen to a lot of you ladies. You'll be shopping, collecting the kids, going to the laundrette. For some of you, the face you start out with in the morning won't be the same face you end up with by the evening.
Why let it happen? Clunk, click, it's so simple. Clunk the car door, click the seat belt, even if you are just going around the corner, clunk, click every trip.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'll play it again.
It's very likely that 400 of you will be injured in your cars tomorrow. You'll be within 6 miles of home and doing less than 30.
And it's going to happen to a lot of you ladies. You'll be shopping, collecting the kids, going to the laundrette. For some of you, the face you start out with in the morning won't be the same face you end up with by the evening.
Why let it happen? Clunk, click, it's so simple. Clunk the car door, click the seat belt, even if you are just going around the corner, clunk, click every trip.
Yeah. Right, we've got to just watch it one more time because, yeah, you must have been wondering what I was talking about when I said, oh, there's Kate, Princess Kate, because the girl that's on this, the woman, she looks a little bit like Princess Kate. So I was saying, oh, there she is.
It's very likely that 400 of you will be injured in your cars tomorrow. You'll be within 6 miles of home and doing less than 30.
And it's going to happen to a lot of you.
There she is. Does look like Kate, doesn't she?
You ladies. You'll be shopping, collecting the kids, going to the laundrette. For some of you, the face you start out with in the morning won't be the same face you end up with by the evening.
Why let it happen? Clunk, click, it's so simple. Clunk the car door, click the seat belt, even if you are just going around the corner, clunk, click every trip.
Yes, so now you can see what I was talking about his uneven fringe. You must have been wondering what I was talking about. It looks like he cuts his fringe himself. Dear me, he has, oh God, gives you the absolute creeps, this guy, doesn't he? Oh God, horrible, horrible man. I wonder why they were concentrating so much on women. Why were they I wonder why they were concentrating on women. I bet if I go back up here, hi DMV, I go back up here and everyone's saying, can't see it, you've not shared it, can't see it. Oh dear. Hi, Bridget. You know, I always, I haven't done that for ages, so it was always coming, wasn't it? Normally hi, Katrina. No, again, I know. Normally people start writing in capitals when I do that. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Anyway, you know what I mean now. You've seen it now. Oh dear me. 3 times I watched it on my own. Yeah, I enjoyed watching it. And then I had to watch it another 3 times. I was sick of it by then. Oh dear me, dear me. Yeah. He does, Kelly. Looks like he's put a mixing bowl over his head. And look, that's quite fashionable now. That blunt cut on the ends, isn't that quite fashionable? But I don't know why his fringe. He really does look like he's had a go at that himself. That's what my fringe looks like when I have a go at it himself. Dear me. So yeah, when you look at him now, why is it so obvious now? There's something else that used to be acceptable and isn't acceptable anymore. Bloody Jimmy Savile, he's just like, why was it? And he was Charlie Boy loved him. Everybody at Mrs. Thatcher, everybody loved him, thought he was bloody brilliant. And nobody knew. I mean, they must have known. I think they did know. I think they did. That's what annoys me about Mark Williams Thomas as well, because he always goes on, he helped to expose Jimmy Savile, but he waited till he was dead before he did it, didn't he? He didn't try and expose him when he was alive, when he could have actually helped people. And also, why were they targeting women in that? So come on, you ladies, when you're going to the laundrette or dropping off the kids or picking up the kids or whatever. Dear me. Yeah, it has got those black eyes that killers have, Ocean. Definitely has got those dark eyes, hasn't he? I think we'll watch him one more time just because you missed all the others. But let's have a look. But one thing I would like to say, I mean, it was a very powerful advert because, these adverts that they brought out in those days, like if you remember, and we were watching that advert about swimming, that was poking a little bit of fun at Peter Falding. They were powerful adverts, weren't they? Because I remember adverts. I mean, I was a bit of a telly addict then. Telly was like a god in our house. The telly was always on, whereas now I never watch the telly. But we did watch the telly a lot then. But the adverts were very powerful. Like this advert, I can remember it as clear as day. These safety adverts. I can remember all the adverts from then and never even noticed the adverts now. The amount of money that they spend on adverts half the time, sometimes you watch the adverts and you actually, at the end of it, you think, what was that actually advertising? Whereas I think the adverts from back in the day, they were very powerful adverts. There's adverts that we can still remember today, loads of them.
It's very likely that 400 of you will be injured in your cars tomorrow. You'll be within 6 miles of home and doing less than 30.
And it's going to happen to a lot of you ladies. You'll be shopping, collecting the kids, going to the laundrette. For some of you, the face you start out with in the morning won't be the same face you end up with by the evening.
Why let it happen? Clunk, click, it's so simple. Clunk the car door, click the seat belt, even if you are just going around the corner, clunk, click every trip.
Yep, clunk, click, every trip. Oh, but I nearly turned off the stream then. You can tell I'm getting tired because I nearly pressed the wrong button then. So, hi, Arkan. Yeah. Listen, Morecambe and Wise, Simon, is still the best thing about Christmas, isn't it? I don't think Christmas TV's rubbish, isn't it now? I've never liked Benny Hill, I must admit. I don't like Benny Hill. I mean, some to me, it's like, oh, I don't know. I did never like Benny Hill at all. It always gave me the creeps a little bit, and it was so sexist. Even then, I knew that was in those days that was just so sexist, I suppose. But you know, a lot of people love Benny Hill, don't they? So. I'm not going to say anything about that, but it just wasn't my sort of thing. But I don't like Mr. Bean either, so I don't really like those sort of what's the word from slapstick type thing. I've never really liked it, so I don't. But I quite like the Carry On films and things like that. They are quite funny. Yeah, Dick Emery was another one. Dick Emery, yeah. There was some, oh my God, well, most of the comedians from those days, they couldn't be comedians today. I don't think Morecambe and Wise were politically incorrect with it, but the funny thing about Morecambe and Wise wasn't it, that way that they got into bed together, that the sketches that they would do of the two of them in bed, but they were just so innocent, weren't they? You never thought anything strange about it, or never sort of put any connotation on it or anything. It was just very, very innocent. Charlie doesn't like beans. Yeah, the music from the Benny Hill, when even hearing, I like it when there's a guy, a protester, who stands outside Parliament. And when the Conservative MPs were trying to be getting interviewed, he would play that Benny Hill music behind him. I thought it's so funny. But of course, he's been banned now because you're not allowed to, you're not allowed to play music or make, like, he got his amplifiers confiscated because he was embarrassing all the Conservatives when they were trying to talk shite during COVID and that, and he'd be stood behind them with his amplifier on playing the Benny Hill music. So he had his amplifiers confiscated, but it was funny. Yeah, the two Rodneys. Danny LaRue. I don't know about Danny LaRue. But okay, so one last thing I just want to show you before I finish, because I'm going to bed soon. And then maybe, we'll see, there might be some news in the morning. I just wanted to show you this, which I thought, oh, this is interesting, which was on Hi Heather. Oh, God, talking about hinge and bracket now. And God, those are 4 candles. Yeah, see, I can't play these. I can't play these sketches because they just get you for copyright. They don't let you play them. Anyway, so I'm going to sort of, I know you're all talking about comedians and that, but I don't know if you saw this. The Jack the Ripper. The Jack the Ripper police file has been made public after 136 years by the great-grandson of a detective who worked on the case. Oh, there's things in here that I didn't know about Jack the Ripper. I've never done a video on Jack the Ripper. Obviously, it's not exactly current, is it? But it is interesting. So these are things out of the file, the Jack the Ripper file. And this file was kept by Inspector Joseph Henry Helson, who was serving in the Metropolitan Police when the serial killer known as Jack the Ripper murdered 5 women in Whitechapel, East London in 1988. Sorry, in 1888, not 1988. Oh, God, you can tell I'm tired now. I need to get to bed, get sleep. So the archive, which has been passed down through 4 generations of the Helson family, includes 2 photographs of Michael Ostrog, who was an early suspect for the Victorian killer, as well as the only known copy in existence of the so-called Saucy Jack postcard the Ripper purportedly sent to the police to taunt them. Now, I didn't know about that. I didn't know that he sent a postcard to the police to taunt them. I didn't know anything about that. And I wonder if that's where the Yorkshire Ripper, the guy who, the idiot that misled the police by sending them tapes and things, whether he knew about that and that's where he got the idea from. Because, of course, that as far as the Yorkshire Ripper was concerned, the guy who sent in the tapes, because he had a Geordie accent, it misled the police for quite a long time, didn't it? Anyway, the photos of Ostrog, a Russian immigrant, a petty thief, and a con artist who'd spent long periods in prison and a mental asylum, have notes on the back of them listing 3 of his aliases, his criminal record and his physical appearance. Now, apparently this Ostrog was quickly, here he is, he was ruled out as the Ripper when it emerged that he was in the mental asylum of a French prison when the murders took place. So it wasn't him. The archive also contains a copy of the Dear Boss letter, a note sent by the murderer to the police, which he signed off as Jack the Ripper, which was the first time the name was referenced. I didn't know that either. I didn't know he sent any letters or any postcards or anything like that. I did not know. I've never really looked at, Jack the Ripper is, it's one of those stories, if you like, or it's, everybody knows about it, don't they? I mean, everybody, but there's not many people have never heard of Jack the Ripper, but I've never gone into any detail about the case or whatever. I've seen films and about it, so, but I've never really knew any of the proper details, and I certainly did not know about these letters. So really all I knew was that they never found out who it was. So the murderer boasted about killing his female victims, warned police that his knife was still nice and sharp, and promised to clip the lady's ears off. Nice. The original letter, which is held in the National Archives at Kew in London, was initially considered a hoax until people decided to take it seriously when the Ripper's 4th victim, Catherine Eddowes, was found with part of her right ear severed. Poor woman. So this copy of the letter appears to be a clipping from a newspaper, as people published numerous duplicates in the hope someone would recognise the handwriting. And there's also a grim photograph of the body of Ripper victim Mary Ann Nichols in the morgue, which is believed to show her remains at a slightly different angle to the most common image of her. So Inspector Helson worked on the murder of Nichols, the murder of Anne, an East End prostitute who was the Ripper's first victim. She was found with her throat cut and mutilation wounds on her body in Bucks Row, Whitechapel, in the early hours of 31st of August, 1888. So Helson took charge of the investigation and assisted with inquiries into the killing of Annie Chapman, the Ripper's second victim, 8 days later. And his archive, which is worth an estimated £10,000, I would have thought it would have been worth more than that, to be honest, but I suppose it's so long ago now, is now being sold by his great-grandson at Whitton and Lang auctioneers of Exeter in Devon, who say they fully expect it to spark a bidding war. Oh, there'll be a lot of people bidding for it, I would imagine. So a Whitton and Lang spokesperson said, for nearly 140 years, the Jack the Ripper murders have held an enduring fascination, and items directly connected to the crimes very rarely come up for sale. There is also a facsimile copy of both the infamous Dear Boss letter and Saucy Jack postcard, which appears to be cut from the broadside printed in 1888 and used by the police in the hope that someone would recognise the handwriting. So the original letter and postcard both disappeared. The letter was returned in 1988 and is now in the National Archives at Kew, but the postcard has never been seen again. Somebody's got it somewhere. So the auctioneers added that people should not forget that the victims were real people with real stories, and we wouldn't want to think of this murderer as an anti-hero, but for the monstrous villain that he was. Helson retired from the Met Police in 1895 after 26 years of service, and he returned to his native Devon to work on the railways, and he died in 1920 aged 75. So this auction, if you want to bid for it, the auction takes place on the 22nd of March. So if you want this, all this stuff from the Jack the Ripper, where was it? The Witten and Lang auctioneers, Lang auctioneers on the 22nd of March, if you want to bid for it. Yeah. Oh, we're on to Kenny Everett now. Yeah, all done in the best possible taste. I just thought it was like quite interesting because you know, he's probably one of the most famous. That the Jack the Ripper. It's like just it's infamous, isn't it? You know, and I think as well because it was never found out who he was. You know, and there were so many rumours about who he was. Somebody said there, I think it was Charlie. There were rumours that he might have been royalty, and he may well have been, because we just don't know who he was. Right, I'm going to sneeze. Bless me. Yeah, Jack the Ripper and Bible John. No, but they do think Bible John was possibly Peter Tobin, don't they? But of course, we'll never know now, will we? We'll never know if he was or not. Some people thought he might be. Okay, now I'm just going to check just to make sure there's no news of Samantha, but I don't think so. If there is anyway, to be honest, I would probably do a video about it tomorrow. It's too late now, isn't it? For me, anyway. Yeah. No, I can't. Oh, excuse me. I can't see any. Can't see any news. So, no, nothing. Okay, well. Yeah, no DNA. Anyway, okay. Has David gone? He's gone. He's probably walking the dogs, Chumba. Goes off to walk the dogs. So Bridget, are you talking about the woman? So Bridget is asking about. Let's see. Where's it? Oh, I've lost it. The woman whose partner died in a suitcase. Do you mean the woman that left? That he died in the suitcase and she was listening to him dying? Is that who you mean? You've been dumped, Jumba. You've been dumped for the dogs. Is that who you mean? Bridget, I can't remember her name, but she, I thought she'd already been prosecuted. Has she not been to trial yet? Let me just see. Because I did watch a video about that, but maybe she hasn't gone to trial yet. Sarah Boone. That's it, Sarah Boone. So she zipped him inside a suitcase, didn't she? And then she said she fell asleep. And of course he died. But there was some wasn't there some video of him or something? Yeah, I've not done a video on that case. Actually, I'll have to put it on the list. There's quite a few cases. I'm halfway through a video about another case. You know, there's so many cases that I'd like to look at. But yeah, she took, he's begging, yeah. So this woman, Sarah Boone, what she did was she said to the police it was a game of hide and seek that went wrong. And she put him in a suitcase, she zipped him up, and then she says she sort of fell asleep. But actually, he is actually shouting to her, look, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And she took videos of him in this suitcase. Like, well, you couldn't see him because the suitcase was closed up. Oh, it's very harrowing, actually, because you can hear, she's just laughing. She's just laughing while he's trying to get out the suitcase. Anyway, he died, bless. But I will do it. Not now, because I won't do it properly. I mean, it's a serious case, and because I'm tired and that, I won't do it properly. But I think there's a new trial date. Hang on. There's a new. So the trial was supposed to be in October last year, but I think it's been delayed again. I'll have to find it. It says that it's been delayed, but it's not telling me when till. Let me see. Can't now. Just says there's no follow. Let's see. It's 2024, her court date, but I can't find the. May the 3rd, her trial's going to be. So I'll probably cover it when it comes up a bit closer to her trial. But yeah, Sarah Boone. So it just shows you women can be twonks as well. It's not only men that are twonks. So there's Sarah Boone. She's a twonk, murdered her partner. I don't know if he was abusive or not, but yeah, it is in America. It is in Florida. Oh, what a surprise. Do you know, Florida's a funny place, isn't it? Half the cases that come up are from Florida, because of course that's where the Stefan Stearns, Madeline Soto case is, in Florida. Something weird about Florida. Loads of cases are there. Who's that? I haven't done a video about this girl, this woman before, Sarah Boone. But I will do a video about her. That's right. Male twonks and female twonks, unfortunately. I mean, that was another thing that came up the other night, like in Ballarat, wasn't it? That other murder of Kobe, and that was a woman that killed her and put her down a mine shaft. So I may do a video about her in the morning. Anyway, I'm waffling a bit now, so I'm going to bed, but I will see you tomorrow at some point, I'm sure. Florida is like, what's happening in Florida? You know, what's going on in Florida? There always seems to be some sort of strange case going on there. You know, really high profile cases, aren't they, from Florida? But anyway, so remember to live and love carefully and wisely. Don't drink and drive. Don't do any of those things that used to be acceptable years ago and that aren't acceptable anymore. Remember to always clunk, click, put your seatbelt on. And I'll see you very soon, as always, in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Night, night, everybody, and take care.